a tutti ragazzi e bentornati di End of Glory. Dunque, eravamo arrivati a casa di quel simpaticone e dovevamo impicciarci su quello che ha dentro casa e nasconde qualcosa. Tastierino numerico. Quindi dobbiamo trovare la combinazione. Televisore.
The screensaver showed an aquarium. Couldn't you just buy a real one instead?
E pare di no, della Pony poi.
The reflection from the TV prevented me from understanding what was portrayed in the photo.
Ok, quindi qui mi sa che non c'è altro, no?
Until I
Libreria.
discovered the code to open the door, I wouldn't be able to do anything.
Sono d'accordo, però devo trovare qualche indizio, no?
Until I discovered...
Condizionatore, quadro e niente. Praticamente fino a che non troviamo la combinazione non si può fare niente. Questo è male, molto male. E quindi? E che ne so io mo qual è il codice di questo? Voglio dire nasconde qualcosa e forse quella tecla sa cosa. Quindi dobbiamo tornare poi qui a questo punto. Castel Sancti Leonis. Però qua c'è questo, non ci fa entrare.
He wouldn't have let me in without a signed permit.
Un lasciapassare firmato. E noi non abbiamo il lasciapassare firmato. 9.
A huge fancy car.
Vediamo un po' se è cambiato qualcosa qua. Pare di no.
I had nothing else to ask.
E quindi? Torniamo un attimo in Piazza Dante. Allora, Oliviero
was hiding something, but refused to tell me what it was. For now, I had to look.
Ok, lui sta nascondendo qualcosa. Gli anziani che dicono?
They would have stalled me to talk about the old.
No. Vediamo un po' se la bibliotecaria può servire.
Bye.
Se ti dico il nome Tecla, ti suona una campanella?
If I say the name
Tekla. I don't think I've ever read anything of hers.
She's not a writer, but a local who lives in the area.
Oh. But even so, the name doesn't mean anything to me.
Take
Vabbè.
care, Gaia.
Forse il prete? Padre Carlo magari sa qualcosa.
Father Carlo?
Yes?
Tra i suoi parrocchiani gliene risulta uno di nome Tecla?
Among your parishioners.
Certainly.
Really?
Yes. A tall, muscular man
I'm a
who loves
maschio.
beer very much.
But I'm looking for a woman.
I'm not the right person to give love advice, Severio. And why are you asking questions about a tall, muscular man if you're looking for a woman?
Oh, for God's sake. Sorry, but you really make things slip out of my mouth. Goodbye, Father.
C'è rimasto. Bacheca degli annunci, magari c'è un annuncio da sta tecla.
Ads of various kinds, missing pet. Wait a minute.
Elicottero,
Helicopter? Was it possible it belonged to the very person I was trying to track? The ad displayed an address, and on the bottom an additional note. The tour of Castle Sancti Leonis is cancelled due to permit revocation.
Ottimo. Quindi abbiamo questo indirizzo. Qua. Casa di Tecla Nowak. Che guarda che casa.
Hello? Hey, is anybody there?
I don't think I said come on in.
Are you crazy? You could have killed me.
If I really wanted to kill you, I wouldn't have missed the target. What do you want? I'm not buying Bibles or vacuum cleaners, so if that's why you came, I suggest you leave the house before I sit down. At that point, I could decide to improve my aim. You're still here?
Do you always welcome your guests like this?
I never receive guests. At most, clients. Are you a client?
It was Oliviero who referred me to you. He claims you might know something about getting permission to access Castle Saint something.
That pompous Marquisaster. I wanted to organize a tour that ended with a visit to the castle, but he refused to sign this useless piece of paper.
Wait a minute. Are you telling me you have a permit?
I never throw anything away, especially a nice piece of paper. You know, for when you're in the middle of the woods and nature calls.
Can I have it? I need it urgently.
Do you need it right now? I have some toilet paper in the bathroom.
No, I need it to get into the castle.
Ah, I don't have any use for it. But I don't think you'll be able to get it signed. That small-time noble only pays attention to those who have the same color blood as him.
Blue?
Black as pitch.
I also need to ask some questions.
Prima ti ho vista passare in elicottero.
I saw you pass by in a helicopter earlier.
So what?
It's not something you see every day. Besides, I got the impression you were looking for something.
You're wrong. I was just taking a sightseeing tour of the area.
Tekla just offered up a nice lie.
Parlami del serpente.
Tell me about the snake.
You should have asked my father. My area of expertise is flora. Fauna is just a secondary pastime.
You know full well what I mean. Not long ago, Liviero cited a snake as he cursed you, and I'm pretty sure you know what he was talking about.
And yet I don't have the slightest idea, all right?
Lie number 2.
Sai qualcosa del duca di
Do you know
Cagliostro?
anything about Duke?
You mean Count Cagliostro.
Uh-huh. Then you do know something.
They talk about him in town all the time, but that doesn't mean anything.
That's enough. I don't need to have studied kinesics like Alice to know that you're blatantly lying.
I don't know what you're talking.
Oh, I'm pretty sure you do. Since I got here, both you and Oliviero have done nothing but talk in riddles.
Oliviero.
Initially, I just thought you were being coy towards a stranger, but now I'm convinced. You two are hiding something.
Who are you, really? And what the hell do you want from us?
I knew I had to give something if I wanted to get something. All right, let's dispense with the disguise. I'm not a tourist. I'm a detective on the trail of a sect of lunatics. I still don't know why, but my investigation led me right here, to San Leo, in the footsteps of Count Cagliostro.
A detective. Are you kidding me? Looking like that?
You're free to check my credentials with HPD in Miami. Now it's your turn. Tell me what you're up to, and what Cagliostro has to do with it.
You were convincing, but I still can't trust just any guy who comes here and purports to be a great detective. I'll have to do a background check. Let's talk again this evening, at nightfall, in front of the fortress of San Leo. And now get out of my place before I really lose my temper.
Ok. Quindi dobbiamo andare qua? Basta. Appuntamento in serata alla rocca. Ok, sto alla rocca ma non è sera, quindi dobbiamo far passare il tempo in qualche modo. Oliviero ancora sta a dormire. E come faccio a passare il tempo? Che ne so.
At the moment, I didn't...
Padre Carlo dice altro?
I had nothing else to...
No. Boh. Proviamo a chiamare Alice.
I could do without Alice's help just...
No. Allora io in verità adesso c'ho il
The
modulo di
module duly completed allow
accesso.
access to Castle Saint something. I needed the signature of that obnoxious half-pint to be official.
Cioè la firma del nanetto. Non è che nell'opuscolo c'è la firma di quello da qualche parte, no? No. La firma del nanetto. Come facciamo qua? Questo non mi fa passare.
He wouldn't have let me in. De Vilta hadn't returned home yet, and I had the feeling he would stay out a long time.
Però non
could
ho...
try random codes the whole day.
Infatti, non ho il codice.
For the moment, I had nothing else to say to Tekla.
Ci saremo visti in serata alla fortezza. Il problema è che se vado alla fortezza non diventa sera. Vediamo un po' se Luca mi dice qualcosa.
I had nothing else to ask.
E mica lo so che fa. Vediamo un po' se gli anziani me lo firmano loro, che ne so.
I didn't understand.
Oliviero.
Sometimes, my obsession.
No. Orchidea. Ma se diamo l'orchidea a lei, dato che era per lei?
Giving the orchid to Gaia personally would have been risky.
Sarebbe stato rischioso.
An old-style device with
Sarebbe stato rischioso. E se quindi gliela dai tu l'orchidea?
Was it really worth it?
Che ne so, sono sedè. Allora, qui il taccuino dice: modulo d'accesso per il castello, devo firmarlo. Investigare casa De Vilta, ho bisogno del codice d'accesso. Oliviera nasconde qualcosa e forse quella tecla sa cosa. Appuntamento in serata alla Rocca. Però il problema qua
Module duly
adesso
completed. Allow access to castle Saint something. I needed the signature of that obnoxious
ci serve la
half-blind to be
firma di quel
official.
deficiente là. Allora, vediamo se adesso possiamo utilizzare Elis.
I could do without Alice's.
No, De
I already
Vilta.
discovered what. I wondered what my mother was doing anyway.
No,
I no longer needed
no.
just having to talk to him. Besides, my anti-interception.
E niente, quindi no. E che possiamo fare? Pneumatico. Il magnete è spezzato. Il braccialetto tracciante. Il modulo di accesso. Questo fino a che non è firmato non possiamo entrare lì. È tutto collegato, quindi non so.
There was nothing else in the flask.
Non c'è altro nella boccetta. Qua non ci va. De Vilta non abbiamo il codice. Qua non mi fa entrare. La fortezza è l'unico altro posto.
Fortress of San Leo.
Però non c'è.
The luxuriant nature, the
A meno che un codice sia da qualche parte. Pannello informativo.
ancient medieval coats of arms. Ancient medieval.
I motti cavallereschi.
Ancient.
Non cambia neanche
ancient-
a
ancient
cliccarlo, no.
The glass was translucent, and it.
Pannello informativo.
That panel was a reminder of the forced stay of Felice Orsini. The emperor survived, but the 3 bombs thrown at his carriage.
Non ne ho idea. A meno che un codice sia qui. Sanctis
The coat of arms
Leonis.
depicted a winged lion with the halo, the Sancta Leonis. A huge fancy car occupied. He wouldn't have let me in without.
Questo ce l'ho ma non è
He wouldn't have let me in
firmato.
without a. He wouldn't have let me in without a signed
Sì, l'ho
permit.
capito. Il Sancti Leonis. Il Sancti Leonis. Fortezza di San Leo 1441. La torre sembrava importante.
I couldn't try random codes though.
Bisogna avere la combinazione. Però il televisore
The
perché
screen's
lo guarda?
A reflection.
Il riflesso in quella foto.
Was it really worth it?
No, non ne valeva la pena, sono d'accordo. Però se usiamo il telecomando
Who knew if the
universale.
universal remote control trick would also work on that device? Bingo! I pressed the buttons on the remote control again, but I soon realized the sad truth. My purebred pony had kicked the bucket for good that time. It had been a faithful sidekick, but now it was time to part ways forever.
Vabbè, ce ne faremo una ragione.
So that
Fotografia.
pompous dwarf was married. Maybe that could be my key to entry.
Il matrimonio di questo.
So that pompous dwarf.
E come faccio a sapere mo quando si è sposato quello?
I couldn't try random.
Il matrimonio di quello.
Until I discovered.
Allora, vediamo se in biblioteca... Ah, oppure questi sanno quando si è sposato.
They would have stalled me to talk. They would have
Appunto. Non mi puoi dire quando si è sposato quello? Andiamo in biblioteca.
Father Carlo left.
Padre Carlo se n'è
You just
andato.
missed him. You'll find him around the corner, at the Church of St. Francis in Verma.
Good to know. As much as it might seem absurd, he could be able to help me.
Eh sì, l'avrà sposati lui. Vabbè, c'ha i capelli bianchi, quindi non è giovanissimo.
Bye.
Sai qualcosa del matrimonio del marchese di
Do you know anything
Vilta?
about?
You surely do ask strange questions. Anyway, no. I didn't even know he was married. I've never seen his wife.
Ok.
Take care, Gaia.
Lei è troppo giovane, quindi non ha vissuto il matrimonio. Adesso andremo dal padre. Che sta qua? Alla chiesa di San Francesco a Berna.
The church was exactly like I expected it to be. Colorful and bright, but austere. Wasn't exactly an expert, but it looked very ancient.
Allora, padre Carlo, quando sono sposati quelli? Hanno i capelli sono
Hello,
neri, però
Father
le sopracciglia
Carlo.
sono bianche.
Lucky I found you.
Forgive me? What do you mean? Were we playing hide and seek with the children of the oratory?
No, I meant... Wait. Are they playing hide and seek? I love hide and seek.
Do you need something?
Oh, yes, definitely. I'd like to ask you a few questions.
Ask me? Are you sure?
Absolutely not.
Lei ha dei documenti riguardanti i matrimoni celebrati in questa chiesa?
Have you got any...
Certainly. How else could I remember all those names and dates?
Perfect. How much do you want to let me look at the data related to the
Quanto
wedding of
vuole?
the Marquis de Vilta?
We men of faith haven't engaged in such things since the scandal of selling indulgences, my dear Giacomo. De Villa? De Vilponi? De Vilta, 23rd of November 1992. Oh, but here I read about a divorce a few years later. How unfortunate.
Father, you just gave me some vital assistance.
Ok, quindi adesso in teoria abbiamo il codice. Adoro
See you later,
padre,
father.
anche se hanno divorziato, comunque lui è rimasto proprio innamorato della moglie a questo punto.
That stained glass window successfully achieved its purpose, inspiring awe and peace at the same time.
Il quadro.
The plaque identified the figure as Saint Leo, patron of the city. I imagine someone more muscular and fierce.
Più muscoloso. Porta.
I didn't know where the door was leading, but I found it unsettling.
Perché? Pannello. Chiesa di San Francesco a Berna. Il logo originale è molto antico. La vetrata principale, il mosaico, il lupo e il tau, entrambi simboli di San Francesco. Vabbè, confessionale, ci
I
possiamo
hadn't
andare.
confessed since my mother forced me to take my first Holy Communion, and I didn't want to start again just then.
Ok, va bene. Quindi direi che ce ne possiamo andare. E adesso possiamo provare a entrare qua. 1992. Ah no, aspetta. Momento. L'ho scritto, sì? 23 novembre 1992. 23 11. Ah no. 23. Ah sì, 11,92. Può essere così, eh? Ok,
Finally, inside.
a posto. Allora, libreria.
The library was well stocked with classics and ancient architecture books, but I couldn't see anything that would be of any interest.
Ok. Vediamo il cavalletto.
There it was,
Madonna.
right there in plain sight. De Vilta's signature.
Abbastanza
The
inquietante.
canvas revealed two things. The first was the total absence of
Abbastanza.
talent of the Marquis. The second was the void the divorce must have left in him. Everybody suffers, after all. The signature on the canvas could have been just what I needed.
Penna. Su. Qua.
In that moment, it didn't seem to be a good solution to me.
Ma sì, devi fare questo, su.
The form was properly superimposed, but I still couldn't see the signature on the canvas. The signature on the canvas could have...
Così.
Was it really worth it?
The signature on the...
Sì, l'ho capito. Che possiamo metterci? Non lo so, adesso vediamo. Allora, lampada. La metti qua.
The lamp would make the canvas more transparent, facilitating the forging work I had to do.
In teoria adesso si dovrebbe vedere. Ok, ricopia questo.
Even Devilta himself wouldn't have noticed the counterfeiting. With the correctly signed form, I could finally access the infamous Castle Sancti Leones. Hey, I eventually learned the name.
Ci ha messo tipo 10 ore. Quadro.
And once when I was a child, my palette of paints fell on the ground. I could swear the result resembled that painting. Brand new air conditioner.
Condizionatore.
Mine, by comparison, produced an effect similar to an icicle in the oven.
Siamo usciti da qui?
The upteenth closed
No.
door.
Ok, e quindi direi che ce ne possiamo andare finalmente. Possiamo entrare qui. Allora, mo mi devi far passare, non rompe.
You again? If I'm not mistaken, I gently suggested that you vanish.
I don't think that will be the case.
But what? How?
And now, gently lead the way.
Levate.
This way.
But did Lake let you enter?
Sure, I have a regularly signed permit.
That's incredible. Go ahead.
Hey, you.
Yes?
I warned Mr. Beringler about your arrival, and he seems unhappy about it. Very unhappy.
And you? Aren't you happy to be in my company?
If you don't shut that mouth of yours...
What's all this commotion? Lake, I told you to show our guest in. Mr.?
Bundy. Lazarus Bundy. I have a form personally signed by the Marquis de Vilta.
Please have a seat in my office.
See you soon, my friend.
It doesn't end here.
Comunque il disegno di lui mi sembra diverso della guardia confronto agli altri.
Would you like a drink?
I don't drink, thanks. At least I was able to spare myself that vice.
Good for you. Then, Mr. Bundy, I feel it's necessary to clarify some points. I am Walter Beringler, the curator that the Marquis de Vilta has designated to manage his property. As such, I can't help but ask, how did you get a permit to access the building?
I had been provident enough to come up with a good excuse for just such a possibility. Well, let's just say the Marquis and I have some business together, of which I can't openly talk about. Just know that I arrived here in San Leo with but a single aim. Spend the little fortune I've accumulated these last few years.
Fortune coming from?
Oh, well, I'm a partner of a company dealing mainly in boats.
Boats?
Moles Bear Company in Miami, to be exact. You have no idea how profitable that sector can be. I strongly hoped he didn't check my credentials. On the other hand, even if he did decide to check, he would need time, while I intended to complete my investigation as soon as possible.
Well, if the Marquis has decided so, I guess there's nothing else to do. But please, pay special attention. This castle is very ancient, and as such, delicate.
I'd be like a child in an Egyptian museum. That is to say, I would snoop around everywhere, and occasionally break something without being seen.
Now, if you'll excuse me, I must ask you to come back tomorrow morning for your visit. It is now evening, and we have to close.
I didn't realize it was so late. The appointment with Tekla and Olive occurred to me immediately. I had to hurry if I didn't want to miss them. They're late. I hope they hurry up. I don't feel at ease here.
Oh,
I don't have any hostile intentions.
Said the guy who just came out of the darkness dressed like a plague doctor.
I'm glad to finally meet you personally.
Give me a valid reason why I shouldn't rip that mask off and smash your face.
I can list a few. First of all, you can't be certain you're capable of it. But the main reason is that you're curious to hear what I have to say. Well, now that I have your attention, I'd say we can start. Until now, you've done a very good job. The lead that took you from Miami to San Leo was very weak, and a less resolute man wouldn't have traveled so far from home.
Or a less desperate one.
You're very frank.
And you have proven to be smart. And a smart man knows perfectly well how dangerous a desperate man can be.
I won't underestimate you as Radwed has done. Rest assured.
Speaking of Radwed,
Radwed is the withered petal that risk letting the entire rose die.
Rose?
Now we have more pressing questions to face. First of all, your mission here. Maybe you still haven't fully realized how many things we must bring to light.
I can sense that there is something huge under my feet.
The lost seal of Count Cagliostro.
Lost seal?
An ancient symbol, lost for centuries, that I searched for my whole life without success. It's the reason I chose you. I'm compromised, but you're free to move. You're alert, and you're motivated enough.
That's all? You could have found tons of detectives like me.
Touché. There's another reason, but we'll talk about that later. Now, I have another question for you. After which, you can decide if you still want to smash my face or not. You couldn't have made it this far alone. Have you been helped?
No. Everything I did on my own.
You're very trustworthy. You'd never betray your companions. Excellent. Now, if you'll excuse me, I must leave. I have a train to catch. A train that will take me to Rome at the first light of dawn.
You.
Don't wear yourself out. Don't fight the smoke. Welcome it. Make it yours. Take a deep breath. What you've just inhaled is, of course, a powerful sedative, but also something else. Let me tell you why I chose you. I can cure you.
Ricattabile nel frattempo a Roma, quindi lo può curare dal tumore. Non so come.
Here we are, Lamberto. I told you to call me when you wanted to go down. That vase you broke was a rare piece from your collection.
You gave us a real scare, Professor.
Who are you?
I'm Alice, Professor. It's an honor to meet you in person.
Alice, like the heroine from the cartoon.
The cartoon came after the books. How do you feel, Professor?
Confused, like I've been sleeping for months.
I'm making dinner in a bit, my dear. Of course, consider yourself a guest of the professor. We'll think later about how to get him back to his room.
How come?
The ramp is old and battered. After being used, it takes hours before it will run again.
Maybe I can take a look in a while. I'm not an electrician, but I know my way around. Professor, getting back to us, the reason I came here is to ask for your help. But to do that, I have to show you something.
Allora, quindi siamo tornati con Alice. E vorrei scoprire qualcosa su questo specchio. Quindi, professore, ecco qua.
Professor, what can you tell me about this little mirror?
Put that away.
Do you recognize it? Can you tell what's so special about it?
Yes, but at this moment, I'm confused, like I've been sleeping for months.
Take all the time you need, Professor. Reorganize your thoughts.
Yes, reorganize thoughts.
Oddio, mo? Che è sta roba? Ah, ok, devo girarli. Ok.
My head.
Dai, professor, ce la possiamo fare?
I'm starting to something.
Dai, che mo ti tornano i ricordi. Carina come cosa, simpatica.
A what?
Ok, così, così, così.
Ha! The fleet!
La flotta.
Invincible! It was invincible!
What, Professor? What was invincible?
My room, Take me. My room.
Do you want to go back to your room?
My room!
Marie, is it a problem if I go upstairs to take a look? I could try to repair the lift platform's control unit.
Well, if that is what the professor wants, I don't think I have any say in that.
Thanks. Such a peculiar room. This must be the broken control unit.
Allora, cassaforte.
I first need to repair the control unit and bring the professor in here.
Quindi non mi fai vedere altro? Va bene. Circuito.
At first glance, everything looks fine. If I really want to understand what's wrong with it, I'll need to manually verify all the connections. I will also need something to restore the faulty pins once identified.
Allora, devo trovare i collegamenti difettosi della centralina e ripararli.
I need something to...
Dove li vediamo questi collegamenti difettosi? Dal portatile? Non credo.
I don't need my...
No, però hai bisogno magari degli strumenti. Sì,
ok.
Perfetto, basta qui. Sì, direi di sì. Quindi proviamo a usare il tester col circuito.
I need something to restore the electrical connections. The control unit managed...
Mi manca qualcosa. Che ti manca? Allora, il professore dice qualcos'altro.
I have to take him to his room.
No, Mary dice
I
qualcosa.
wouldn't know what to tell her at the moment.
No. Microonde.
Those aluminum remains. I could use them to restore the broken electrical connections.
Ok.
Perfect! Now I can control the tension of the electrical connections with the tester, and then temporarily fix them with the aluminum sheets.
Perfetto, quindi dovremmo avere tutto. Allora, alluminio sul circuito.
I did an initial check, and it seems these are the pins I have to focus on. I managed to obtain these 3 usable sheets of aluminum, with which I'll restore the necessary connections.
Quindi valore atteso 65, valore attuale 0. Quindi se bisogna capire quali coprire. 45, 50, 60.
All right, now it should work fine.
Ok,
Let's hope the professor can give me a hand somehow. Brace yourself, Professor.
My beloved.
Your bedroom. Are you happy to be here?
Here, it's where I work. I worked. The
Non c'è una
thoughts
finestra,
come and
questa.
come and go.
Is there anything else I can do to help you?
My safe. Find it and
Forse
I
dove stiamo
opened
noi.
it and
Do you mean this strange bas relief in your library?
Who are you and what do you want?
I'm Alice, Professor. I'll take care of your safe. If I can. The safe will surely be protected with a combination. Maybe I'll find some clues here in the room.
Allora, prima di tutto vediamo cosa serve per aprire la cassaforte.
The figures to insert seem to be associated with clear geographical references. It can't be a coincidence.
Allora, i simboli, quindi Cina, Roma e Egitto. Ok. Va bene.
An Egyptian...
Sì, l'ho capito. Quindi, il Cairo.
It depicts the Egyptian pyramids at sunset. It's very suggestive. Who knows what those symbols on the upper left mean?
Boh, non lo so. Poi abbiamo il letto.
I'd like one like this at home instead of my shabby little one with those rusty springs. With a bit of luck, I'll soon leave behind the misery I live in.
Il ritratto.
It's a portrait of Professor Visconti. He must be at least 10 years younger here. He was an extremely fascinating man. It makes me sad that I only met him now that he's so empty.
Allora, c'è la lupa e quindi Roma.
Symbol of Rome. It portrays Romulus and Remus, the epic founders of the city, while they were being nursed by the Capitoline wolf.
Allora, c'è L e 3. L, se non erro, dovrebbe essere 50? 53?
The items in the backgrounds were painted with a special contrast that makes them stand out.
Allora, proviamo a mettere a Roma 53 e vediamo se dice qualcosa, perché non mi ricordo bene se L è 50. Ok, però non mi dice se va bene. Invece qui non lo so, questa cosa dei simboli non lo so. E in più manca quello cinese. Quello cinese, che indizio è quello cinese? Il professore dice
First,
qualcosa?
I need to find and open this.
No.
Do you always talk to yourself, miss?
Forse i libri. Sezione dei libri orientali, ok. Libro rosso.
The terracotta army of the first emperor Qin. The 71 most famous legends.
71 potrebbe essere.
The 220 lost language.
No, l'India. È questo,
The
la Cina è
terracotta
questo.
army of the.
71.
Am I wrong or am I getting reactions?
Sto ottenendo delle reazioni.
The terracotta.
Eh sì, infatti, 71.
The dangers of summoning evil.
No, non gliene frega, infatti, vedi.
2D versus 3D.
No.
Yes, I'm pretty sure of it.
Eh sì.
Legends on the.
Sì, secondo me, allora, 71 è la Cina. E di questo sono abbastanza sicura. E il problema è capiremo l'Egitto. Simboli.
I'm not an expert in languages, but they look to have a certain logic.
C'è una certa logica. Sono 6 questi. 6, 4, 4, 4, 4.
I'm not an expert in.
Sta roba io non ci so buona. Professore, mi
First, I need
aiuti,
to
la
find
prego.
an-
Allora, ho controllato e sì, L50, così almeno sto tranquilla. Vediamo se c'è qualcos'altro nei libri.
Concentric circle. 1985.
Perché quella cosa del
25
Cairo non lo
essays about
so.
2D versus
Questo l'abbiamo visto.
Qin Shi Huangdi.
Le dinastie cinesi.
Esoteric phil. The Four Faces. Tanabata Mat.
Non so se c'è altro, forse è
Legends
soltanto
on
per
the origin-
i 71 della Cina.
Neja and the Ho Yi and Wu Dang.
E vabbè, e
Reading
comunque finiamo di
upside-
vederli tutti, non si sa mai che...
The Japanese read from
Ah, questo ti
the
interessa.
Japanese read
I
from
giapponesi
right
leggono a
to
destra e a
left.
sinistra curiosità
Cultural curiosity
culturali
from the
dall'Oriente. Ah. Da destra verso sinistra.
15 possible interpretations.
Per questo ti è piaciuto però, perché?
The Japanese read from
No, questo sì, ho capito.
15 possible
15 possibili interpretazioni del
interpretations of
manoscritto
Wu-
di Voynich.
The only truth behind
Pure la filosofia cinese. Quanti
The
te ne
terracotta-
piacciono, dottor? Professore?
the 70 beads.
Anche il rosario francescano gli è piaciuto.
Great
E
minds
allora
from the-
boh.
Map of the element. The 220 streams and basic numeral mysteries of
Ah,
The
forse
10
sta indicando un po' più a sinistra.
great minds
Topo di
from the two
biblioteca?
golden cent.
Dice leggermente più a sinistra.
The only truth.
Un po' più sotto.
The terracotta army.
Eh sì, è quello dei 71.
70
E dice sopra,
The
ok.
only truth.
Quindi confermo che
The terracotta army
il
of the first
cinese
emperor Qin.
è
The
71.
71 most.
Ok, quindi questo me l'ha confermato il professore. Il problema mo è capire questo.
First, I need to find an. I'm not an expert in languages, but...
Mi sembrano avere una logica.
He seems a completely different... In the portrait, he indicates to a
Un
green
libro
book.
verde.
Curious.
Mi dai il tuo libro verde, per favore?
Professor, I was wondering, the book you are pointing at in the portrait...
The book. My book.
Oh, bella,
What's this?
professore.
Notes. Will they be useful for the safe?
Safe.
Ottimo. Allora, vediamo adesso forse quella del Cairo si può risolvere. Cina, sono tornato dalla Cina con una quantità di appunti imbarazzante. Ho visitato questo paese tante volte e provo nei suoi riguardi solo profonda ammirazione. Credo sia arrivato il momento di mettersi al lavoro su quel trattato che rimando ormai da anni. La Cina è un mondo ricco di magia e io la esporrò al pubblico. Ho allestito una piccola libreria con i libri a tema. E vabbè, questo si è capito, a seconda dello sguardo suo indicava quello di 71. Grande muraglia cinese. Note, i delinquenti venivano spesso condannati ai lavori forzati e costretti a partecipare alla costruzione delle mura. La pena era eterna e i successori del condannato avrebbero dovuto continuare, madonna. I lavori forzati a posto suo. Avrebbero, perché in realtà questa legge non venne mai messa in pratica. Ah, ok. E io direi che Roma... Ah, L50. C'era bisogno che controllavo. Comunque, ok. Egitto. Ah, ecco, più o meno. Ok, già adesso è un pochino più sensato. Allora, devo fare la foto qua. E poi dobbiamo fare dei calcoli matematici, praticamente. Eh sì, perché sennò non c'era proprio una logica dietro.
There are no references to that.
Ok, va bene, ci fa vedere soltanto i riferimenti che ci servono. Quindi, quella piantina è 1000, 4000 più 2000 su 6000 meno 6000 su 0. Ok, 300 più 300 su 600 meno 400 sono 200. Tre, 6, 200. Perché rimangono 200 qua? 300 più 10, 13, 313 meno 400. Non so se devo portarmeli appresso, forse. A meno che devo fare tutto questo più questo meno questo. Può darsi. Potrebbe essere 4622. 4622. Allora, mi serve anche una calcolatrice. 4622 più 2313 meno 6880 6880 55. Andiamo un po'. 55. Cazzo. Cosa c'è da sbagliato? Però questo è un 53. I calcoli mi sarò fatti bene. E l'esercito era da 71, dovrebbe essere giusto. Cosa ho sbagliato? Non lo so. Ah, questo è un 10. 63. Hanno fregato gli uccelli. Ne avevo visti. 63.
I did it!
Ok, perfetto. Non ho bisogno della cinesica.
Well, as expected, there's a lot of money. I don't think I've ever seen so much all at once. And documents. One seems to be in Polish. I can only understand a single word.
Cagliostro.
Cagliostro. I don't know what they're about, but they could help Lars. I'll think of a way to get them to him later. There's also another paper back here. It's in Spanish. Jeez. I can understand little or nothing. It's about something that happened in the 16th century.
Invincibile Armada.
The Invincible Armada?
That's the Invincible Fleet.
The professor is upset. What the hell did Lars and I get into? I have to talk to Marie. I hope I didn't unsettle the professor too much. And he was very alarmed. I'm afraid I made him overexert himself.
Don't worry, dear. He'll recover. I know he doesn't look like it, but Lamberto is a tough guy.
You two must be very close.
And you must be very tired. And it's already evening outside. So now I'll prepare the guest room for you.
No, please. I'll find a B&B nearby and...
Nonsense. A good night's rest is exactly what you need, and I don't want to hear one more word.
All right, then. You're too kind, really.
Now, why don't you go wait in the professor's room? You can keep him company while I fix up the room, okay?
Gladly. This time, though, I promise I won't tease him. How are you? Do you feel better?
Yes, better, but I'd love to help you.
You've already exerted yourself too hard for one day. Now you have to rest.
Rest, yes. Tomorrow will be better.
Alice, dear, the room is ready.
Perché non mi fido
I
del
have to go
Samarino?
now. I bid you good night, Professor.
Be careful, kind miss.
Qualche ora dopo.
That's pointless. I won't be able to fall asleep. I might as well get back to work completing my research. All right, the ravings of the professor seem to point towards an invincible fleet. I'll start from there and make a note of all the information that seems relevant. That way, if I happen to lose track, I can just refer to my notes.
Allora, che posso fare? Flotta invincibile. Flotta invincibile.
Really strange. I remember the historical event in question, but not that the Spanish fleet was completely wiped out from storms. I may be starting to get paranoid, but I find it suspicious and unsettling.
L'Invincibile Armata fu l'imponente flotta allestita nel 1587 dal re di Spagna Filippo II con lo scopo di contrastare la predominante potenza inglese del periodo. Sebbene il piano originale prevedesse circa 500 vascelli, la flotta non arrivò mai a sfiorare tale numero, rallentati dalle frequenti incursioni di Sir Francis Drake, che è un pirata. Alla fine degli spagnoli radunarono 130 navi e 24.000 uomini. In ogni caso una potenza in grado di mettere in difficoltà la rivale Inghilterra. La flotta partì nel maggio 1588 alla volta del canale della Manica, solo per essere sorpresa da una terrificante tempesta che la costringe a ripiegare alla Corugna. Dopo mesi di guerra marittima, gli spagnoli realizzarono l'impossibilità di portare a compimento l'impresa e decisero di ritirarsi per potersi riorganizzare. Gli inglesi, contrariamente a quanto ci si possa aspettare, non li seguirono, forse consigliata a tale riguardo da John Dee. Gli spagnoli vennero infine raggiunti da 3 tempeste violentissime, l'ultima delle quali a largo della costa del Connacht in Irlanda sbaragliò definitivamente la flotta. In tutto la Spagna riportò 40 navi perdute e 10.000 vittime. Sir Francis Drake.
Interesting, but I don't think it would yield any useful information for the case.
Ah, ok, quindi non ce ne frega niente del pirata? Vabbè. Torniamo alla flotta invincibile allora. Ah, posso tornare indietro così, ok. Invincibile armata. Proviamo John Dee. John Dee.
That picture in the top right. The item D is holding in his hand is identical to the one I have in my pocket right now.
Allora, John Dee fu un alchimista, astronomo, astrologo, matematico e geografo inglese famoso per i suoi studi sull'occultismo. Nel 1558 divenne consigliere della regina d'Inghilterra Elisabetta I, la quale lo teneva in grande considerazione, al punto che fu di stessa a organizzare l'incoronazione. Fu a partire dal 1581 che l'alchimista si dedicò completamente ai misteri dell'ermetismo e soprattutto alla necromanzia. In questo ambito ottenne risultati incoraggianti dopo l'incontro con Edward Kelly. Pare che i due riuscissero a comunicare con le anime dei defunti probabilmente utilizzando uno specchio divinatorio. Nel 1605 l'epidemia di peste che devastò Londra non risparmiò nemmeno Dee, il quale perse tutti i suoi cari. Essendosi separato anche dal collega Kelly, trascorse gli ultimi anni della vita da solo, povero, fino alla morte. Direi specchio divinatorio.
Lars claims to have heard whispers coming from the mirror. Maybe it really is a contact with the next world. Oh, I've got chills now.
Uno specchio divinatorio o specchio nero è uno strumento di divinazione usato sin dall'antichità da varie culture e religioni. La pratica della divinazione tramite specchi viene detta catoptromanzia, dal greco katopron, specchio. Gli aurispici erano convinti di poter scorgere il futuro nelle superfici riflettenti e questa loro pratica entrò ben presto nel patrimonio magico popolare. Viene spesso annoverata tra i più potenti artefatti alchemici al pari della pietra filosofale e del sigillum Mehmet. Alcuni alchimisti hanno sostenuto di essere in grado di utilizzare uno specchio divinatorio per comunicare con gli spiriti dei defunti. Catoptromanzia.
Oh, the search is too generic. I have to narrow the field down.
Ok, allora abbiamo spiriti dei defunti.
Oh, the search is too generic. I have to narrow the field down.
Sigillum Emmet.
Fascinating. These alchemists intended to cross the borders of reality as we know it, and never let themselves be intimidated by anything. They remind me of Lars from a certain point of view.
Il sigillum Emmet è un diagramma magico che l'alchimista inglese John Dee elaborò perfezionando il sigillum Dei, al quale aggiunse la dicitura Emet, ovvero verità, uno dei nomi di Dio. Secondo la tradizione esso conferiva al portatore la visione beatifica, vale a dire la capacità di vedere Dio e gli angeli. È costituita da due circonferenze, un pentagramma e un eptagramma, ovvero una stella a 7 punti e un eptagono. Al suo interno l'alchimista scriveva i nomi di Dio e degli angeli. Il sigillum Emmet andò perduto nel 1608 dopo la morte di Dee, ma è possibile ancora oggi ammirarne un esemplare nel British Museum. Quest'ultimo era appartenuto all'alchimista Edward Kelly, il quale lo avrebbe ricevuto dall'angelo Uriel in persona, sebbene esista anche un demonio omonimo. Il sigillum Emmet viene spesso confuso con la mano della gloria. Eccola la Hand of Glory. Mano della gloria.
And what's this? The Hand of Glory is an alchemical artifact composed of the dried hand of a hanged man kept in brine. That's gross. According to tradition, the hand gives the bearer total control of whoever is nearby. If correctly completed, in fact, it allows paralysis of everyone in its presence. If correctly completed, who knows what that means? The hand was a tool used in necromancy to speak to the dead or obtain control of the spirits. It seems terrifying, but a few details sound familiar. The dried hand of a hanged man. Is it possible that Molesburg...
Povera Mary, io non mi fidavo di questo.
They are here. I don't have to panic. The documents I found, they mustn't get their hands on them.
What? Thief!
Calm down, Professor. It's just a bad dream.
Oh, good. I'll go back to sleep then.
Quick. There, that's all I can do. And now...
Oh, seppellisci la verità. La mattina dopo San Leo.
Be still, young man. You took a very bad blow yesterday evening.
Devilta? But how? What?
You're surely asking yourself what you are doing in my house. But the answer is simpler than you might think. Yesterday, just before evening fell, I received a phone call from an unknown caller. It was a young bartender, Olivaci?
Olivero?
Yeah, him. Anyway, he spilled everything you were doing, including the story of the counterfeit form to me.
That Judas! Or maybe I should say those Judases. Well, it didn't know about the form. I'd carelessly revealed that to Tekla.
I then went to the appointment at the Rocket in his place, determined to expose you.
So, you saw the doctor?
I saw a madman dressed as a crow, and I thought it was better to hide and try to understand what was happening.
Okay, but why didn't you call the police?
To report an assault by a guy with paranormal powers? I thought it would be appropriate to rescue you, to ask what was happening directly. I suppose I was also overwhelmed by curiosity.
You made the right decision. Those people don't fool around.
What kind of mess did you get yourself involved in, young man? And what does this all have to do with my castle?
I can't get into details, but you need to believe me. I'm doing all this just to save a child that was kidnapped in America.
That's absurd, to say the least. On the other hand, what I saw tonight is absurd as well. I'll accept your version and will let you walk around inside Castle Sancti Leonis. I just beg you to follow Beringler's directions. That man scares me.
Only then did Alice and the threat of the doctor occur to me. I found 2 messages. The first dated back to the night before, roughly during my fight against the doctor. Alice had found a Polish document that referred to Count Cagliostro. She had even written the entire text through SMS and sent it to me. The second message calmed me down for good. It was from the wee hours of the morning and informed me she was hitting the road to reach me in San Leo. No mention of the doctor. Evidently, Alice proceeded ahead of time without even realizing the danger she averted. Now I have to go, but I could still use some help.
Leave the door open when you go, and come back whenever you want.
Okay.
So, Oliviero had decided to play hardball. I would give him a taste of his own medicine.
So stronzo.
You...
Wait, let me explain.
I don't know who you think you're dealing with, but now I'm really pissed off.
Whoa, what are you planning to do?
Shut up and follow me, and no sudden movements. A shot might go off.
What is this charade?
This is a crazy killer. He wants to shoot me.
I really want to see this. Come on, shoot!
Bang!
Ah! But, what? I can't believe I fell for that. Did you know?
You can see the shape of the finger from miles away, dope.
You two nearly compromised my investigation, and now I want to know why.
We can't trust anyone. Don't you get it?
Are you going to listen to me, chump? I said, and I'll repeat it, my sources confirmed his version. He really is a former detective from Miami. We've been stuck on this search for months now. I say let's try.
All right, then. Let's follow your instinct.
How about you start from the beginning and tell me what's going on here, backward and forward.
A while back, we went into the forest on an excursion. It was a perfect night for an excursion, thanks to the full moon illuminating the path. Everything was going perfectly, when suddenly we stumbled onto something unusual. The tracks of an animal that, judging by the print, had to be huge. Tekla claimed she had never seen anything like that.
E voi che avete fatto?
And what did you do?
Tek decided to follow the tracks, but I didn't feel like going with her. I mean, a huge beast with the full moon? I told her I would manage alone, and I let her go. After 5 minutes, I was already lost, cold and frightened.
Sei l'antitesi dell'avventuriero.
Then, out of nowhere, I came across something unexpected. Something that has tormented me ever since. It was an old casket, hidden inside a hollow shaft.
E l'hai aperto?
And did you open it?
Sure, what the heck? Nothing remotely interesting ever happens to me. It contained some ancient dossiers. I took a quick look, but they disintegrated in my hands in just a few seconds. The only thing left intact is a strange piece of scroll that we've been trying to decipher ever since.
There's something that doesn't fit. How did those documents end up in San Leo if the Count had been dragged there by force?
Maybe they weren't left by the Count himself, but by the Polish soldiers who moved his corpse in 1795.
Polish soldiers. Just like in the document Alice found. Look here, Tekla.
Yes. It's not exactly modern Polish, but it's understandable. It seems like the testimony of one of the soldiers. Apparently, they uncovered the Count's corpse buried in the bare ground, with his head resting on a rock and a towel covering his face. In this passage, Cagliostro is called Master of the Rose. Again, with these damned flowers.
The Rose. It's not the first time I've heard about it, and I suspect it won't be the last.
With his body, they found some relics, which they hid, then transcribed the directions to locate them on a scroll, which they divided into 3 parts. The first was entrusted to the local priest, Father Alfredo, who swore to hide it in the safest possible place, protected by the wings of the eagle.
A sort of riddle or puzzle. I'm getting used to it.
The second group of soldiers, however, was confronted by a contingent of knights in the pay of the Debh family and exterminated. The last piece was closed in a trunk and buried near an easily recognizable centenarian tree.
This must be the one we found. We already have the first piece.
Well, I wouldn't be so sure of that.
What do you mean?
Yesterday morning, I went for a helicopter ride to fly over the woods looking for the beast.
When we saw you passing by.
Right. My bag could have accidentally fallen down in that area.
What?
Easy, Blondie. I was planning to go retrieve it today, but I'm waiting for the maintenance guy to bring me back my rifle. I don't want to walk around without a weapon with that monster nearby.
Fine, but we can't afford to wait. I'll go recover the bag.
Do as you wish. But take that pickaxe. You'll need it. And make no mistake, I'm not giving it to you because I feel guilty. Not at all.
E niente, abbiamo trovato 3 pezzi di
But I
mappa.
should have turned over every stone in San Leo to
Di
dredge up those
pergamena.
3 scroll pieces.
Ok, va bene, quindi andiamo qua. E questo? Ah, è quello del giornale.
Hey! Hey man, I'm talking to you!
Stop waving that knife! Sorry, dude. Oh, you almost gave me a stroke.
It was a really close call.
What are you doing here? Pleasure trip?
I'd say I'm working. And you?
Yes, me too. Wait a minute, damn! In the rush of the moment, I carved too deeply into the cortex. What a disaster.
What are you doing to that poor tree?
I'm analyzing it, dude. I'm Matthias, world-renowned resinologist.
Resinologist?
I don't think that word exists, but saying biologist specializing in amber is too long and makes other people uncomfortable.
Che stai ascoltando?
What are you listening to?
Oh, it's the hit of the hour. It's great.
Catchy.
I've been listening to it on repeat for days.
Beh, bella Mattias.
See you, Matthias.
Take it easy, dude.
Va bene ragazzi, direi che per oggi ci fermiamo qui. Abbiamo fatto un po' di giretti, un po' di chiacchiere e dovremo trovare questi 3 pezzi di pergamena. Voi come sempre mettete un mi piace, lasciate un commento e iscrivetevi al canale. Vi aspetto al prossimo episodio. Alla prossima, ciao ciao!